You've been to quite a few conferences in the US, but this is the first T3 conference, Technology Tools for Today. I'm the techo guy rather than you, but you've been pretty excited about what you've seen too, is my impression. Give us some feedback.
Well, what I really like here is the honesty. Everybody here is out to share knowledge, to make a transaction, to move on. Lots of conferences are sort of a compromise, where the delegates are there for learning, and the exhibitors are often an impediment to the next session. What you've got here is this real clarity. Everybody's here to see how they can improve their business and how they can extend their relationships. That's got a really nice feel to it.
Yeah, it is quite different, isn't it? That you get people who are perhaps intense competitors up on a stage together talking about what each of them sees as the likely developments coming down the track, and there's an openness here that you don't get anywhere else. But I think that one of the things, and it really only struck me, I love coming to this conference. I couldn't justify it for quite a few years, but I've been to the last 3. You couldn't have this conference anywhere else because the market is not big enough anywhere else to support the wide range of suppliers that you see here. I mean, one of the beauties about the US, if you can get a 3% market share in the US, you've got quite a viable business, whereas very few other countries is that the case. And how many CRMs were there here? 8, 10? And there are 5 or 6 really well-established ones, and there's a bunch of new ones, and the same with planning software. And how many exhibitors? We got 100 exhibitors? Or can you imagine having a technology conference somewhere else with 100 exhibitors?
Yeah.
No.
It's unimaginable. I used to run conferences, as you remember, and there were 2 people in Australia that do financial planning software. In the UK, maybe 5. Yeah. In India, 3. Germany, maybe 4. So they're very specialist. So here, you're right, there's the volume and the openness and the complexity. Yes. That's the other thing that overwhelms. I was just reflecting, to be competitive here, you have to do so much.
Or be very narrow, very focused on a particular thing, because there are a few of them. And again, the market is big enough to support something like that.
And that's certainly true of the general conference. I sit in sessions and I'm overwhelmed at the depth of knowledge somebody will have around a very precise issue.
Yes.
Whereas in other countries, they have to cover several segments to make a living. And it's the opportunity. It is driven by the depth of market and the enthusiasm. One of the things that really impresses me here is the understanding of what the opportunity is. There is a shortage of advisors. That is going to increase. There's a consciousness that the people in the marketplace have to be able to recruit and use technology if they're going to sustain it, because the exits, our generation leaving, are going to leave the market unserviced. So if I was
You're about to retire.
If I was a kid here, I wouldn't be doing law, I wouldn't be doing medicine. I'd be doing financial planning. I think the opportunities for a 25-year-old who's going to come out as a graduate with some technical knowledge, because our struggle is we're not naturally at home with the technology. We do workarounds. They're coming out with enthusiasm, youth and technical knowledge to a community that's got to do planning. I think the opportunity in this place is much bigger than I envisaged. When I first thought of coming here a couple of years ago, I thought, okay, it's a mature market, but it's not at all. No. The opportunity is absolutely humongous.
I think the other interesting thing that's happening is that because you can get specialised products, IT products here, what happens is that a typical advisor might use 10 different pieces of IT. And that then leads to the okay, how do we integrate all this stuff? And there are huge steps being made forward in presenting integrated solutions. And I don't know how many platforms there are to integrate solutions, but again, there's probably 8 or 10 different really quite sophisticated platforms, some of them well established, some of them new, and so my guess is not only are the individual pieces of technology going to be more sophisticated here for the foreseeable future. I think maybe 20 years from now you'd go to India or you'd go to China and you'd get a similar spread. But it's what's happening with the integration that's exciting, mind-blowing, some of it. And I think that any financial advisor who wants to see state-of-the-art should come here. They don't have to come, it's expensive if you're coming from internationally, but come here and just have a look at what's available, and it will position you, I think, to look for the right sort of things in the software that you need, or you might even go back to your country and start a software business.
Yeah. And become an agent for an American company.
Yeah.
It's certainly...
Although, sorry, one of the really interesting things, very few of them are interested outside America.
Yeah.
We was talking to somebody last night and said, why would I? The market here is huge and it's sort of untapped, whereas those of us from elsewhere would starve in our own countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we did.
Yes, nearly, yes.
It is the depth of the market. I literally had no expectation of how sophisticated the CRM systems and how they linked, and how it removes so much of the data collection. Yep. In so many countries, the advisors say, "I'll do the data collection. I can't trust anybody to do it," and of course that leads to massive inefficiencies. Yeah. And you can see, within a couple of years, this will be a process. The advisors will be dealing with a client's needs with the data collected in the multiple ways that can be expressed, and their genius, if you will be applied for an hour. Yep. And then they'll move on to the next one. Yep. It's the technology and the support people that will be doing it. Because one of the issues in other countries is only the planner that knows. Yep. There's nobody's trained. The thing that blew me away was the 200 universities teaching financial planning. Yes. 200 universities. Yes. I can count one in Australia and one in the UK. Unfair. I can count one. That's me counting. I accept that. All right. There are people doing it, but nothing like the sort of volumes and quality that will come out.
Well, I think okay. So we're both pretty excited about T3 technology tools for today. Joel Bruckenstein and Dave Drucker, who run it, are great guys. They run a great conference, and if you're offshore somewhere, you ought to think about coming to next year's, which will be on at this time of year somewhere in the US that isn't too cold.
And if you come, we'll see you there.
Yep.